And let's bring in our legal experts now to weigh in. Thane Rosenbaum, distinguished university professor at Touro University. He is the author of Saving Free Speech from Itself. Alongside Thane, we have Christina Bobb. She is attorney and advisor for Donald Trump. Welcome to you both. It is great to have you on such a big day.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Bianca.
I'll start with you, Christina. Obviously, this puts so many questions into what happens next for all of Donald Trump's legal cases. Some have even theorized if he has immunity, then Alvin Bragg's case with the payments from the non-disclosures to Stormy Daniels may fall apart as well. Just kind of outline and sketch out to our viewers the significance. April 22nd, but when do you think they will rule, and how do you think they will rule?
Yeah, so April 22nd is the oral argument for whether or not Donald Trump can claim the privilege of presidential immunity. I would expect the court to rule whenever they want to rule on it, quite frankly. They have the opportunity to delay this to the point where the trial would actually be after the election. That is a tactic that they could use that's, a bit more of a procedural maneuver than a substantive maneuver, but they certainly could do that. I think I would prefer that be the route that they take rather than throwing this in the middle of an election cycle should it go to trial. But they certainly can choose to say that he does have presidential immunity. I, of course, agree with President Trump's trial team saying that every single action that he's accused of was in the course of his official capacity as the president, and therefore he has presidential immunity. So if this case... Oh, go ahead.
No. I was going to say, so obviously that's sort of the overarching theme here. And I do want to get to the left freaking out over this. And some of the arguments are they're just astonishing. Let's play MSNBC reacting to Supreme Court, just basically doing what is in Donald Trump's right here. Let's play this.
Most likely it was the four horsemen, right? It was Thomas, Alito, Gorsuch, and Kavanaugh, the four horsemen of the apocalypse, who decided to hear this case. And at some point, people in the media, people at home, and people sitting in the White House have to stop pretending that the Supreme Court is some kind of benign, trying to do its best institution and start to realize that there are 6 Republicans, not conservatives, Republicans on the Supreme Court who view it as their job to help the Republican Party.
That's his opinion, but putting it out there is pretty dangerous, Thane. I mean, this is our founding fathers. This is the way our country is built on. The left clearly wants to dismantle everything that our nation stands for.
Bianca, he would be very surprised and embarrassed to learn in one day that is it so implausible that Justice Sotomayor or Justice Jackson didn't say, hey, you know what? It's an interesting question. Decades ago, we decided with Richard Nixon that he had immunity from civil liability in civil court because he could get hammered and hounded as a target for frivolous lawsuits. And so this presents the opposite question. If it's not civil court, if there's an immunity, maybe there should also be one in criminal prosecutions. That is a legal, constitutional question that the Supreme Court appropriately, as a case of first impression, should take up. I'm not so surprised there's 4 horsemen there. It could just as easily been any one of them who said this is a constitutional question.
As we heard during the Colorado arguments, the oral arguments, some of the left judges, not the conservatives, were saying, why would Colorado be able to take someone off the ballot? Doesn't seem right. That was Ketanji Brown and others there. So speaking of, while I have you outside of immunity, there is this Illinois story where they're trying to knock Donald Trump off the ballot. Again, he's not been charged with an insurrection, something if Jack Smith had, he would have done it. Christina, your reaction?
Yeah, my reaction is this is a liberal judge trying to signal to the powers that be that he will do their bidding and, they should appoint him to a higher court because he will bend the law to their will. It's a silly ruling, knowing that the Supreme Court is going to rule on this issue and likely render his opinion invalid. I think this was his attempt before the Supreme Court ruled to flag to everybody that he's willing to be crazy.